I've been driven out and driven away from the country that I love when I'm seeing crime rates go up. And, um, my wife and I just had a baby daughter, a little miracle daughter, just over a year ago. And I can't help thinking, what kind of country are we bringing her up? What kind of world are we bringing her into? And where's going to be the best place to educate her? And where's there less violence? It's um, it's a real shit show in the UK at the moment, and I'm not sure it's going to get any better soon. I think it might get a lot worse before it gets better. And in fact, if you then layer onto that higher unemployment caused by AI, and we haven't even seen humanoids or robots coming in yet to take away some of
which
the
is
blue collar work, that's got to be around the corner, right?
about to happen.
I think so.
I don't, it's not, we're talking about months, not years.
I think so.
Uh,
So
yeah,
how
yeah.
will
So
Western countries have enough money coming in tax if they kill off all the wealth creators? I think in
yeah,
Britain, if I remember rightly, something like the top 10% of the wealthy people pay 65% of all the tax. And the government need the taxes coming in to build hospitals and schools and to make the infrastructure great to live in. And if you frighten away, I think one millionaire is leaving the UK every 45 minutes at the moment. So since you and I started speaking, another one's just left.
yeah.
It's
And
not
this has
great.
been going absolutely, and it has been going on not already for a while. I know this has been a trend for quite a while, and it's not sustainable. And it's exactly the same thing here in Germany. I don't know if it's worse in the UK than it's here. I've seen a lot of like gruesome stuff going on, like the two, how this two-tiered policing is this, do you feel this? Is this real? Because sometimes you look on X and all of these, it comes across almost like out, like, just, is this even true? You not, I don't know. And
We
then
have
also, yeah.
We have had two-tier policing, and it's been brought to everybody's attention now. I think people thought it was a conspiracy theory at first. I think if anybody's read the paper about about these terrible rape crimes that these gangs of people have been found guilty of, then there has been two-tier policing. There's no doubt about that. Um, I hope that will get better. And there has been a problem with freedom of speech.
Yes.
There are a lot of people that have gone to jail for saying something unhealthy online, and that can provoke a whole debate about free speech. But no,
Yeah.
it's not good. It's
No,
not good.
how could, yeah. And does, yeah, it's scary because the same people that you thought would be like the more liberal minded people, because I'm coming from a liberal background. I mean, we all are lefties when we were young, I guess, because somewhere, but I was really, I came from that background, and then I see these same people that would cherish like freedom of speech and stuff. That those are the same people that now um want us to be put in jail because we say have a different opinion. And in Germany, same thing, right? It's just maybe not that extreme. I haven't seen reports of people being locked up for thought crimes, but we're headed that way, undoubtedly.
But
And
just because you're a successful entrepreneur, it doesn't mean that you're the enemy. It doesn't mean that you don't have a social conscience. Um, I spent some time with a billionaire over the weekend, a fantastic guy, Sir Kevin Rocher, and he's very wealthy, but he's used his wealth to start an ethical mining campaign where now so many of the gold mines don't have children down the mines. They don't use cyanide. These are wealthy, successful people who are using their money and influence for powers of good that governments didn't do, that
yeah,
governments should be embarrassed about.
yeah. And you know what's so cynical about that, and about so sad, is that they this is not uncommon. A lot of very wealthy people do this because they can, and why wouldn't they? If you've built a business, over years, and you made the right decision, and you have accumulated wealth, you just the normal thing to do is share. So what we all do, right? So we want to share that, and so I would argue there's always bad apples, of course, right? So you have 9 out of 10. I don't know the percentages, but I'd say if you look at 100 people, and there's 9 out of 10 or 90% are usually good people, 10% are not so, and then there's a small percentage that's terrible, and that is also applied to obviously to rich people. But when that happens, when these people, like the example you just pointed out, I mean, Elon Musk he's done a lot of those things as well. I mean, if there's a disaster, he sends help, right? If there's something he can help, he will help, right? So it's always like, and then he's demonized, and these people are demonized, and so this whole ideology, and I see this in my family. I mean, I was just yesterday in a family um setting, and then I have my cousin, and this is this, I don't know, this ideology, this zero sum game, where they think that if this guy is rich, it means that he's a bad person. He must have done something to take away all the money from these other people, which is obviously false. The opposite is true. But nobody tells people about space when he just became a trillionaire, right? So nobody tells,
Well,
at least those leftist media, they don't tell the people that all those workers, including the cleaning stuff, they're now millionaires. Nobody tells that story, and
no,
so,
but I think a trillion. Yeah, okay, this, what a landmark this is. So the world has its first ever trillionaire. First of
yeah,
all, how many people watching know what a trillion is? I don't. How long is a trillion seconds? I don't know how many days, weeks, months, years a trillion seconds is. It's just an awfully big number. But whatever that
yeah,
awfully big number is, surely there comes a massive social conscience with that number to make change for good. You know,
yeah.
if Elon Musk has got that much money, maybe he should work a bit harder about making social change.
You could argue that, yeah, but yeah. The point is that it's I think it's just this. It needs this whole problem. The reason why we got to the place where we are in Britain, in Germany, a lot of these problems stem from false narratives, like and people being riled up against each other instead of just rational discussions. And I mean, it's okay to have disagreements, but well, yeah, but how did we get into this? I asked you why would. So right now, again, for men, like if you're a young entrepreneur, you want to set up your business, should you stay or should you go? That's a question I might ask you. What
It
do you
is,
think?
and I think a lot of people will stay and try and change things from the inside, and that's good. And some people will feel beaten or attacked to the extent where it's just if you're punishing the wealth creators so much and making or taxing them or making it difficult to employ people, they'll go and do it somewhere else. And countries need to embrace their wealth creators because we're the people that provide the taxes to build the
Yeah,
infrastructure that the countries need. And so everybody does need to work together. And we don't need to be so conflicted. It's also interesting that we're talking on the day after the World Cup final. That was a nasty final. There was a lot of bad blood during the match and a lot of, fighting after. There wasn't a great advertisement for humankind. Really.
no, yeah, you're right. It was But to be honest, I didn't really expect anything different from Argentina. I know Argentinian. I've lived 20 years of my life in Latin America, so I know Argentinians very well, and they're very, very. There's pride. Is very high. They think a lot of themselves. They can't lose. Terrible losers. Um, but anyway, shouldn't happen
It's a shame. No, it's not. They're
yeah,
not great examples, really, are they?
yeah. So, and Spain was really, they did deserve it. They're just a
I
good
agree.
team. Yeah.
No, I agree.
So yeah. Um, but I wanted to make another point, which is the I lost my train of thought now because of football.
Let's park that. We'll
um,
go out of the window. We'll go somewhere else.
yeah. Um, so yeah, we were talking about millionaires or wealthy people leaving the country. So yeah, right. I had this thought about migration, right? Because it's a big issue. It's all about the news, mass migration, but rarely, and this is something I don't understand, and I think is underestimated. Rarely do people understand that migration goes both ways, right? So this it's coming in a lot of people that not necessarily add to the economy, but then also like we said, a lot of people, the mobility is way higher than it was like just 10 years ago. You can actually set up a business online pretty easily from your laptop. You don't need it. Like location independence is a big thing. Didn't really exist 10 years ago. When Zoom did not exist. And so that's something I think these people is underestimated, right? So the effect
And
of
yeah,
it,
a
because
lot of
it,
businesses can exist in online in any country, can't they? I mean, farmers can't. They can't move their sheep or move their fields, but many creative industries can be wherever they want to be now. I think there's a lot of bunkum talked about immigration, really, and the way I like to look at it is: are people coming into our country coming to contribute? Are they a force for
yeah,
good, or are they coming just to take? And
right.
it seems to me that we're having a lot of people that are coming into countries just to take. But if anybody can come in and contribute, I'm all in favour. I mean,
Yeah.
the house I'm sitting in now is 400 years old. 400 years ago, the population of Britain was only about 14 million. I think now it's about 70 million. So those people have either been born or they've come into the country. And a lot of them have contributed and they pay tax and they built things and been fantastic. So I think we should, set a business environment where it's encouraging for people to come and
Yeah.
be successful and set up businesses and employ people and contribute to society and contribute to the arts as well. That's great.
Yes, absolutely.
Hail the contributors.
Yeah, and I'm an immigrant myself, right? I've been an immigrant my whole life, since I was 20 years old, and it's a normal thing to expect. Like other countries expect that from you. Like you can't just come to and they want to. You need to do what they. I mean, the normal thing to do is you adapt, and then you align yourself with the predominant culture, because why wouldn't you, right? You're the guest. So yeah, but that seems that common sense is, I think, is a lot of missing common sense in today's age. um yeah, so before we end the show, I would ask you to wanted to ask you if you can give the audience maybe a little bit of um, additional advice on, especially the entrepreneur. For example, you come from a financial background, right? So you said there's a simple system to accumulate wealth. In your book, do you have? Would you like to share a little bit more about
I think
about the?
I think
Yeah.
one of the things that's misunderstood in life um, is about debt and about
Okay.
borrowing, and we don't really teach it in school either. And we use the same word, debt, for good debt as well as for bad debt. So bad debt would be, if you're using a credit card to buy a pair of trainers or a car or a holiday or a round of drinks where you can't even remember what cocktail you had by the time you get your credit card statement, that's bad debt. You're buying a wasted asset, but it's still called debt or still called borrowing. Whereas good debt, if you buy a house that's increasing in value or a house that you can add value to by putting a new bathroom in or a kitchen or do whatever you do, then I think that is good debt. But it's still called debt. And again, I was with some people at the weekend in the south of France, and a couple of them said, I have no debt at all. I'm very proud of the fact that I've got no debt. Well, that's fine. But I've found on your journey to wealth creation, using leverage and using debt is a very good thing. Another example of that is if I buy a house and I want it to double in value, I might have to wait 20 years for that to happen. May never happen. Property in London's not really gone up at all in the last 10 or 15 years. But if I get a 75% mortgage, then The house only has to go up 25% for me to have doubled my stake. So I would say that's a good example of using debt to your advantage, using other people's money to your advantage. But going on holiday on a credit card is an example of bad debt. And actually, it's worse than that because the banks, there's a new form of child abuse going around now, really. And that is the banks seducing young people who are just old enough to get a credit card, with all kinds of offers of interest-free loans for the first 12 months and, sweeties and, a free laptop or whatever it is if you open an account here. And then at the end of that 12 months, then the rate goes up to 3% a month, some ridiculously high rate of interest. And I think we need to teach our children and our young people, the difference between good debt and bad debt. So there endeth the sermon of the day about debt, Roman, if that's okay for me to say that.
Absolutely, really. I guess, but I want to also have more of the good debt, I guess. Do you have two more examples for good debt aside from the mortgage or the house? Is there because I think a lot of people, one would assume that buying a house makes sense, right? So because it's a long-term investment. But are there other investments, good debt, that are less expensive that you could recommend?
Well, again, private equity has really studied this and made it wonderful. So when private equity buy a business, say they buy a business for, let's make it up, 100 million, or even say 10 million, they don't put 10 million pounds down. They'll be borrowing, probably 6 or 7 million of that, and they might even put different layers of debt in as well. They might put 3 layers of debt. They might have some senior debt. They might have some middle debt called mezzanine debt, and they might use some of the people they're buying to put a loan note into their business. 3 types of debt, so that the equity check that they write is the minimum amount possible, and that's why they get 4 or 5 times their stake when the company only goes up 20%, because it's so leveraged. And of course, when it goes wrong the other way and everybody loses everything. But I think if you are buying a business that you can improve, a tired business, a business where the management team are fatigued, or you can see a new product line, or they've got lazy and they're selling, then that's a great way to not be frightened to borrow money. Um, and I think that's so property and businesses, I think, would be my 2 areas to say borrow money. And then the other more exotic ones are, I would be very careful and cynical, unless you really know what you're doing, about using loans to buy shares, although people do it very successfully and you can leverage up shares. And I'd be even more careful about borrowing money to buy crypto, because it's easy
That,
to do. You could borrow 10 times your stake. You could borrow 100 times your stake. But if it goes down very slightly and you go out to pour a glass of water, then you could lose everything.
yeah, that's gambling in a nutshell. Yeah, because you
Leverage
don't,
gambling, yeah.
yeah, you
Unless
don't
you
know.
really know what you're doing. And how many of us really know what we're doing? It's the
Yeah,
one.
even if, yeah, I've had a few in my prior podcasts. I've had a few day traders on my show. One guy specifically teaching this stuff to other people, and there's a substantial percentage of traders who lose a lot of money first, or make or never make it, even though they're dialed in every day, and so you can blow your account pretty fast. So, but yeah, I guess that's also true for other areas in life. So yeah, but
But
yeah,
that comes
thank you.
full circle in a way, Roman. There aren't any get rich quick schemes, really. You have to get rich slowly.
Yes,
Right.
I agree. That's true. So the advice is choose wisely, take your time, put in the work and the hours
And
and
I think stick with what you know. Stay in your lane, because what you've learned about, if you're working for somebody else, you've already learned quite a lot. You've shown your discipline. You can show up every day, and you'd be surprised at how much you've learned about what you do. And maybe that's a good time to start. And I think the other thing that a lot of people think it's very risky setting up as an entrepreneur. Whereas I don't think it is. I think a lot of people can set up their businesses as a side hustle. Phil Knight did with Nike. Amazon set up as a side hustle. So you can work your regular job 9 to 5, and then 5 till 9 in the evening. Then you can work on your side hustle. And when it starts to get a little bit of momentum about it, then maybe you can, give up your day job to focus on something that you've already established. You don't have to make some great heroic gesture about going all in and risking the family mansion or whatever it is. You can just start off small.
yeah, yeah, I agree. Assuming that you're not a lazy person, because it means that you need a job, a daytime job, and a business. That's a commitment that I would say few people are actually willing to to commit to or to do long term.
I,
Can
I'd
only
love I'd love to ask your listeners, Roman, how many lazy founders they know. There aren't,
well, there are
for every
none.
100 founders, how many are successful and lazy?
Well, the question is how many successful and how many, because I would also say that no, you can't be an entrepreneur if you're lazy. Impossible, right? So it's just not feasible. It doesn't, those two things don't go well together, right? Okay.
No, but
Because
I
there's
don't think there's very much life-work balance at first either. The first few years, you're working all the time. I know when people are successful, you see them on holiday and on super yachts and chilling out. But certainly for the first few years, I think you're probably earning less than minimum wage if you work at how many hours you're throwing into your work.
absolutely. Yeah, I could say a lot about this topic. But it would get we would have to add another podcast episode here to this one. So but well, Gary, I'm really thrilled. Thank you so much for sharing all this wisdom here. And where can people find you online? How can they get your book and etc.?
Well, I've written 2 books: Eat the Pudding First and Double Up Money Mastery, which one went to number 1 and number 2 on Amazon, so they can buy my book. But and you can find out if you need to contact me on garyashworth.com. But the best thing you can do if you're interested in making money is don't buy my book. Okay, don't buy my book. Download the free audio version, which is available from my website. Don't pay anything. Just give me your email address, and you'll get a free copy of the audio version. I've narrated it, and listen to that. It's completely free, and it won't cost you anything. And that's not a bad place to start, I would say. So there's an offer to all Romans listeners. Go to garyashworth.com and download the free audiobook and start from there. Because everybody needs to be given permission, I think, um, to start up their own business or become a founder. And I want to give permission to as many people as they can to give it a go, because the hardest decision you make sometimes is just the decision to get started, and then after that, it's a lot easier.
Absolutely, I love that. There is this. It sounds like a little bit cheesy there was this movie I watched the other day. It's called Lucy, and at one point they talk about what's the purpose of life, right? So why does life even exist, right? And it's just passing on knowledge. That's it. Like so if and you just showed me that well, passing on your knowledge in form of a book is this is purpose, I think, in a nutshell. It's great. was awesome having you here. Thank you so much,
It's been a
Gary.
pleasure. It's been a privilege. Thank you so much. I hope we talk again. And next time you're in London, if you don't get arrested for your lack of free speech, then please come and have a coffee, and let's go and have a glass of wine together.
I'll take your word for that. Okay, cool.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much,
Have a
Roman.
good one.
It's been great. Thank you so much.